Cool. All right. We're going to be in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. So if you want to turn there real quick. It's also at the top of your handout. But we're going to talk tonight about what are we fighting against. How many, I'll ask, I know AJ because he's got 3 brothers. Sarah, do you ever fight with anybody?
Yeah.
Who do you fight with?
All my sisters.
All of your sisters. Okay. Do you have actually like physical fist fights? Do you just call them names?
I
You go
fist fights.
Chuck Norris on them, spinning roundhouse kicks? Okay. All right. You already said you did.
I don't really fight my brothers that much anymore, unless we have a serious problem.
Okay. What about you? And
Fight with Nick all the time.
Nick, yeah. Is that your only brother? Okay. I got Madison confused the other day with Madison's like a cousin. Yeah. All right. But we're going to talk tonight about things that we as Christians might fight against. So our topic, I wrote it up here, is
The devil.
what are we fighting against? And Ephesians 6:12, you can look in your Bible. My Bible's different than yours, so if you want to look on your handout as well, in case it's different. But it says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." And so, as Christians, yeah, go ahead.
Version is your Bible.
I use the English Standard Version.
Right.
So if you got Bible.com or the Bible app? Yeah.
You say English Standard Version?
Yeah, ESV.
Thank you.
All right, so according to that verse, it lists out a bunch of things that we fight against, but it also lists some things that we're not fighting against. So what's just based on the verse here, if you want to look at your outline, what is something that we are not fighting against?
Flesh and blood.
Okay, flesh and blood. What does that mean that we're not wrestling against flesh and blood?
Evil.
Okay, we are not like Ashley just said. We're not fighting against people. Okay, so when AJ said earlier that some of his friends were atheists, the other day I was. You guys may know I graduated from Liberty University, and there was a very nice gentleman by the name of Bill Maher. Have y'all ever heard of Bill Maher?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Okay.
Real title, Bill Maher.
Bill Maher has a TV show on HBO that very few people watch.
A lot of people watch that.
I'm going to say very few people watch it.
Okay.
Because Bill Maher is he's not a very nice man. Let's put it that way. And he had some very unkind things to say about Liberty University the other day. So he just went on this rant, and it was just horrific, the things that he was saying. And it upset me because, being a graduate, I've graduated from there. I have 2 degrees from Liberty. I'm very proud of the school that I went to. I like it a lot. It upset me. And my wife, she said, "Why in the world are you listening to that? It's just going to upset you." And so then I started reading, and I came across this verse, Ephesians 6:12, and it reminded me that when we're fighting things, we're not fighting against other people. So that's what the first part of that verse tells us. But what are the things that we're fighting with?
Rulers and authorities.
Okay, we're fighting against rulers, against
the
the...
present darkness.
Okay, all right. Of this present darkness, keep going. Read the last little part there.
Spiritual forces. I just said force. We said it weird. Spiritual forces of evil.
Okay, so we're fighting against the spiritual forces of evil, and where are they located?
In
Heavenly places.
In heavenly places. So our battle, when we're fighting things, because we know as Christians that we're engaged in this spiritual battle. There's some great books that if you haven't read them, I recommend that you try to find them. It's called Piercing the Darkness and This Present Darkness. Have you heard of those books?
I've heard of them.
Okay, if you've never read them, they're great reads. It's all about angels and demons and how the angels act in people's lives as Satan and his forces are trying to come against them. But so when we look at this, we need to realize that our battle is not against people like Bill Maher. Like, as much as I would like to say awful things about Bill Maher and other people that are like him, there was another gentleman not too long ago. He's a big anti-bullying guy. I cannot remember his name, but he has a group called It Gets Better. I know you guys are anti-bullying.
What is that?
You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the whole It Gets Better movement.
Right. Well,
It's a
guy
huge movement.
the guy that's in charge of it, he's almost 50 years old, and he was invited to come speak at this high school journalism class. They had all these different high schools from journalism, and he got up there and at this anti-bullying thing, and he proceeded to begin his speech by bullying all of the Christians that were in the room. Basically, he started bad-mouthing Christians and
That makes sense.
started talking bad about the Bible and all of these things. And the Christian students that were there, high school students that were listening to this stuff come from this 50-year-old man, they got up and started to walk out. And so as they got up and started to walk out, he started calling them names as they were leaving, basically refuting everything that he was trying to support. And the reason I bring this up is because it's easy to get mad at a guy like that, but we need to realize that according to this verse that our battle's not with him. We're not getting upset with him because he doesn't realize what he's saying. He doesn't understand the severity of it. But if you got your outline, let's fill in the first part here. And based on that verse, I'll go around and I'll let you try to figure out what it is. It says, our battle is with the blank. What do you think goes in that blank?
Forces of evil.
Forces of evil, okay. Any?
Devil.
What's that?
The devil.
Okay. You got anything? No? All right. The devil's what I wrote down. So our battle is not with people, it's with the devil. And then we are not fighting against those with whom we are sharing the gospel. When we invite people to church, when we tell people what we believe, sometimes they are not very nice to us. And they can say things that are hurtful. They can say things that come, that cut against us. And we need to realize that we're not fighting against them. We're fighting against the devil. Because the devil, and we'll get to a verse here later.
Who are we not fighting against?
We are not fighting against those with whom we're sharing the gospel. So that's your second blank. Down in Pensacola, where I did my undergrad work, Pensacola, Florida, there's a church, and they're, I guess we can call them a church. They send people out on the weekends, and their job is to stand on street corners and scream at people and
so
tell
it's
them.
like Westboro Baptist Church.
I was going to get to that, yes. They stand on the street corner and they have signs that say you're going to hell or you're a sinner, those types of things. And they scream at the cars and basically they believe that what they're doing is they believe that they're sharing the gospel. But I got to be honest, I don't know a single person that's ever gotten saved because somebody screamed at them and told them how wicked they are. Now, I mean, it's possible. It could happen. I mean, God can work through amazing ways. But I've never known anybody who said, oh, thank you so much for calling me names. I'd like to know more about this Jesus that you're...
You need Jesus.
Yeah. And then you mentioned
The name of my face.
the Westboro Baptist Church, which, is regretful that they consider themselves
Oh
Baptist. Are you familiar with them at all? Have you ever heard that name? The Westboro Baptist Church is a hate group, and I don't have any problems calling them that. And they believe that they have been specifically chosen by God, and their mission is to go out and tell everybody else in the world that they are wicked and evil,
God hates them.
and that God hates them.
They're the people who protest at military funerals.
They protested military funerals. They've protested. If you've ever been to their website, and please don't go there.
So bad.
Please don't go there. Please don't say the title of it. Don't
No.
describe anything that's on there. They have different memorials to well-known homosexuals who have died or been murdered, and it's basically like they're celebrating the fact that these folks have died. Okay, they're missing the part, and we're talking about this because they're missing the part that the battle is with Satan. Do you need to go wash your hands?
Fine.
Okay. They're missing the part that the battle's with Satan and not with the people that we're called to reach. Let's go to, if you got your Bible, and I know I'm kind of rambling on here, I'll let you guys talk here in a second. Go to 2 Timothy chapter 2, and this is on your outline as well. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 25 and 26. Is there anybody who'd like to read that? Or
Sure.
all right.
2:25-26. Gently instruct those who oppose the truth. Perhaps God will change those people's hearts and they will learn the truth. Then they will come to their senses and escape from the devil's trap, for they have been held captive by him to do whatever he wants.
Okay. So what those verses are telling us, thank you Ashley for reading. Basically what those verses are telling us is that we're not supposed to go in and start screaming and hollering and calling them names and acting like we're at war with them. In reality, the best way for us to do that is to go in and talk with them with gentleness. Try to get common ground. The fact that AJ told us that he's got friends that don't believe in God, the fact that he's got a friendship with them already, that's going to open the door more for him than it would say for me. They're going to see me and they're going to go, oh, that guy's a pastor, and they're immediately going to go on the defensive. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But our job is to go in and talk with them gently and try to be their friends and stuff, so that there's the possibility that God will open up their eyes, let them see that, oh my goodness, I've been blinded, I've been believing all of this stuff, when in reality it's not true. All right, the next blank's on your the next blank's on your outline, and I apologize. When I made this, it had all this nice color and everything, and then my online filing system crashed this afternoon. So when I tried to access our lovely outline online, I could not. So I had to use the black and white photocopier instead of printing it on the colored printer. Anyway, moving on. The next blank is, the act of sharing the gospel is both destructive and constructive. It's both destructive and constructive. And we're going to actually talk about the destructive part of it here in just a second.
Well, I mean, that's completely true. Like, you could talk to somebody about Jesus, church, and the Bible and whatnot, and make it sound really awesome. But if you don't know what you're doing, you could also make it sound like it's the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But let me read. I'm going to read 2 Corinthians 10. You guys can. I don't have it on your outline. You can turn there if you want to just listen.
Yes, you do.
Well, I have the address. I don't have the verses.
Oh.
Okay. But 2 Corinthians 10, 3-5 say this. For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. So what Paul's saying here is that even though we're humans, we're not in a human battle. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. And we're going to talk about a stronghold here in a second. But you see, it's destructive. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. To obey Christ. That's where we'll stop. All right. One of the key words there in that verse, in verse 4, was the word stronghold. I have it on your outline so you can look at it if you want, but who knows what a stronghold is?
A fortress.
Okay, it could be a fortress. Any ideas, Sierra? She's all...
Anything you can use to your defensive.
Okay. Did you read the outline?
No.
Okay.
I did.
You did? All right, but...
I play a lot of video games.
All right, over on the side, there's a little box there that I put this, and I meant to change one of the words, but it says, what is a stronghold? And then in the ancient world, a stronghold was it says strong place, it should say defense mechanism. Any defense mechanism, fortified walls, strong gates, moat, etc., that slowed down the enemy's attack on a city. Have you all seen Lord of the Rings? You never? Okay. Look.
A little bit.
All right. In Lord of the Rings, I think it's the second one. They take all the people and they put them inside this city, and it's this city that's built into a mountain. So it's.
I've seen a piece of that one. I've seen the battle scene.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So it's completely fortified. There's absolutely no way to get into the building until one of the guys that used to be on the good team betrays them and tells them they're one little way to get in. That's an example of a stronghold. Okay? And the last part of what I put here is, in the spiritual world, a stronghold is anything that prevents a person from becoming a Christian. And here in a second, we're going to talk about, we got 5 of them there, but let me see what you guys think. What are some things that might keep somebody from becoming a Christian? What are some strongholds that you guys have come in contact with, that you've run into, that you see with your friends, that might keep them from coming to church, or might keep them from becoming a Christian, or believing in God, or whatever? What are some of those things?
There's a lot of stuff that's actually really simple. Like, some people don't want to get up that early. I'm not saying to joke around, but some people are seriously like that. Some people aren't comfortable with the friendliness.
Okay, so don't want to get. What do you mean not comfortable with friendliness?
People at church are overly friendly sometimes.
Okay, overly friendly people.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing, but some people don't like that.
Understand? It's uncomfortable for them. Okay.
Some people want to enter a church and just kind of chill in the background until they're comfortable with people, and then they approach people.
I gotcha. Okay. Sarah, what do you think? What are some things that maybe you've come in contact with, maybe your friends have said, that keep them from becoming to church or becoming a Christian?
Drugs. I wasn't raising my hand, but drugs.
Drugs? Okay.
Stuff.
That one is definitely not on my list, but all right.
Why not?
It just wasn't.
It wasn't on the list.
You should add it to your list.
Okay, well, I'll add it on the list later. All right, but let's go through the list that I have, and you guys, once we go through. The first one is emotional strongholds, and I put an example is, I've been hurt by the church. Okay, I can tell you that folks that have come in contact with the Westboro Baptist Church are most likely going to have emotional strongholds that folks are going to have to overcome. You know, they hear people at churches who say hurtful and hateful things to them, and so as a result, they think all churches are that way. They think all Christians are that way. So emotional strongholds. You know, maybe I heard a guy talk about when he was younger, his mom believed a certain political thing, and the pastor of their church said that if you believe this political thing, there's no way you can be a Christian. You don't belong in our church. And they never went back to church because the pastor said that. So there was this emotional stronghold. They were hurt by the church. Another one is perception strongholds. What do you think I mean by perception strongholds?
I think Christians are like this.
Okay.
Because of what I've seen from one Christian.
Exactly. Perceptions are things that people think about us. And the example that I put down is Christians hate gays. Okay, there's everybody seems to think, like, if you ask anybody that's a non-Christian, what's something you can tell us about Christians? And it's the fact that we hate gay people. Okay? Now, I don't think I've ever personally met a Christian, a pastor, anybody that would come out and say, I hate gay people. I don't think I've ever met anybody that would say that. But because there are a few really bad apples, and it seems like the bad apples always get the bad apples always get the most publicity. We now have this perception of we hate gay people, right? Okay.
Well, yeah, it's like if you got little Jimmy in the back of the church who loves everybody, just make up a name. No one's gonna see him. Everyone's gonna see crazy Carl who's yelling, "I hate gays. Gays are devil."
Exactly. Another perception they might have is that we are, and I realize we've got older and younger here, but that we're anti-sex. That Christians are anti-sex. And I'm not going to go off on some sex tirade, and I was like, what is he talking about? But that's the impression that people have of Christians, because we believe a certain way about sex. We believe sex is for a certain purpose. That suddenly we're anti-sex, or that we hate Muslims. We got this idiot down in Florida, and forgive me, I know that's probably not the appropriate word. We got this guy down in Florida, Terry Jones. You guys remember him?
Yes.
The fool that was going to burn the Koran?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He was some, forgive me, he was some little know-nothing. You know, in the grand scheme of things, he was absolutely nothing. But he got his name on the internet, and it blew up. And because that fool down there decided to do that, then suddenly Christians are, everybody has a perception that we are,
Westboro Baptist Church.
that we're, you know, anti-gay, we're anti-sex, we're anti-fun, basically.
That we're all Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, because they get on that. So emotional strongholds, perception strongholds. Another one would be intellectual strongholds. That people believe that Christians are nothing but a bunch of dummies. That you know, that they don't believe anything except for what the Bible says, and golly knows the Bible's full of errors, and nobody's ever taken the time to research and find out if the things that are in the Bible are true.
Actually,
Best friend Kyle right there.
if you go through like all kinds of history, talking about Noah's Ark, all kinds of history has records of a flood at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm. You know, I wrote down here the example is science and faith contradict. People believe that if you are a Christian, if you become a Christian, then you can't honestly believe in science. You know, but they're putting their faith in evolution, which has never been proven either. You know, we've never been able to replicate creation. Nobody's ever been able to replicate evolution either. That was one of the things that Bill Maher was talking about when he did his thing. He was going off because Liberty teaches creation science, and he doesn't believe in it, so you know all Christians are dummies. If you look at history, if you look at some of the smartest people on the planet, guys that made incredible scientific discoveries, they were all Christians. I don't know if Einstein was a Christian. I know he was Jewish, but I don't know if there's people go one way or the other. He definitely believed in God. You know, there's definitely, he quotes and things that he said. And Einstein was, you know, we think he's the smartest man alive. So that's another stronghold. And then we've got, and this one's kind of funny, religious strongholds. And the example that I put down for that is faith without works is too easy. And you always hear people that they get upset and they say they can't believe in a God who would forgive a mass murderer 2 minutes before he's about to go to the electric chair. You know, how is that? How can God do that? You know, the guy's about to die. He killed 19 children with a hacksaw. Whatever, you know, whatever gruesome thing you want. It's not real. It's just I'm coming up with an example. Her eyes got like, but you know, they have a hard time, and they go, what do you mean this person who, you know, killed all these kids, running them around with his car, he can ask Jesus to forgive him, he can go to heaven, but my grandmother, who was the nicest woman in the world and gave milk to stray cats and, you know, fed homeless people, that she's going to go to hell because she didn't believe in Jesus.
You do the nicest deed in the world, but if you don't believe it is and you think it's a load of crap, you're going straight to hell.
Yeah.
Exactly, which, you know, that's hard for people to believe.
Yeah, I had a person that I tried to explain that to multiple times, and they just couldn't understand it. And like that's one thing that's really hard to explain to people.
It's one of those strongholds that we've got to get past. You know, that a lot of folks, and you guys probably come in, you hear this all the time. Is, you know, if my good works outweigh my bad works, or my good deeds outweigh my bad deeds at the end of my life, then God's got to let me into heaven. You know, we've even got Christians in church, people that believe in Jesus, that, you know, have accepted Christ, and they believe that, you know, they accepted Christ, but they've got to continue to do good works because that's, you know, that's what's going to get them to heaven. Is, you know, they apparently have forgotten Ephesians 2:8 and 9, which says that we're saved by grace and not by works. So we got that one, and then the last one here, and we'll be done. We've got just a couple minutes. The last one is sociological strongholds. That's a big word. And it's if I accept Christ, my family will reject me. There was a news story. You guys probably tell I read a lot of news articles and try to keep up with what's going on. A few years ago, there was a girl, a Muslim girl, and she accepted Christ, and her family tried to kill her. So she ran away to Florida in order to be safe, and there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of things, because she wanted to stay in Florida where she was safe, but because she was under a certain age, they were trying to return her home to her parents, who were basically said, because you became a Christian, we're going to kill you. Overseas, there's a guy, we'll talk more about him later, coming weeks, named Greg Steer. Have you guys ever heard of him? Okay. He's got an organization called Dare to Share, and it's evangelism training. That's kind of where I got some of this stuff from. But his whole thing is he went over to India and shared the gospel over there, and people got saved. But it was a huge deal for them, because in that country, in India, they're very Muslim or they're very Hindu. I forget which one it is.
Hindu.
And by becoming a Christian, their family's going to disown them. Mm-hmm. When they accepted Christ, they lost everything. So there are some people that won't become Christians because they're going to lose their families.
But think about it this way: they lose everything, but spiritually they gain everything they could ever need.
This is true, and I'm not trying to argue with it, because I agree that they lose their physical stuff.
Yeah.
But the flip side to that is they're going to be on Earth for a very long time.
Right.
And so even though they have these spiritual blessings, it's hard to keep track. It's hard to remember that when your mom or your brother or your sister now wants nothing to do with you.
Hate you.
Yeah, they now
We should start a program and bring them all to America.
Well, so we could if you do. So those are some strongholds that you might come in contact with. What are some other strongholds that we might, I listed those out, and you guys said drugs and other things. Are there any others that I didn't include on my list? Can't think of anything? Okay. My list by no means is exhaustive. It doesn't have all of them. The last blank down there, though, and the last verse we'll read is, ultimately, all of these strongholds, all of these things that we're going to come up against, are all satanic strongholds. And let me read 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 3 through 4. And it says this: "And even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled only to those who are perishing. In their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God." So, what we need to realize is that even though it can be extremely frustrating when you're talking to somebody and you're trying to invite them to church and they're going, "I don't want to go to your church because you all hate gay people." And you're thinking, there's 250 people at my church. I don't know a single one of them will ever say I hate gay people. Or, I don't want to go hear your pastor. If you know somebody here, I don't want to go hear your pastor because he always says that sex is bad, sex is wrong, or whatever. And you guys can say, no, he's got 4 kids. But, sorry, that may have been inappropriate. Sierra's glaring at me. These are what we need to realize is that even though this can be excruciatingly frustrating, it can be heartbreaking because he's your best friend and you want him to come to know Christ. The reality is that Satan may be blinding him. It's not that he's being obstinate on purpose. He's a victim of what Satan is trying to do, because Satan, his whole purpose is to try to take as many people to hell with him as he can.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole time.
So what we need to remember is that even though these folks, it's painful and it hurts, and they say things to us, that we need to continue to pray for them. And I know you guys have more contact with them than I do, at least at this point. But you all are coming in contact with people every single day. Maybe not so much during the summer if you're sleeping till 1 o'clock. This is going on YouTube, by the way. So Sierra slept till 1 o'clock. She's over there. I'm gonna kill him. But
Sleep.
she's over there. Yeah, she's over there asleep. For those of you that are listening on YouTube, Sierra Smith slept until 1 o'clock, and she's asleep right now. She really is. All right, but anyway, you guys come in contact with folks that are having these, and so I hope that now that we understand them, it'll be a little easier for us to be more understanding as to what they're going through. Does that make sense? All right. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. Is there anything that you may have thought of while you were? Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I got a message. Let me stop.